This is the brand new DJI transmission system, and you may think this one already exists. That's true, but that one doesn't. It's a brand new receiver that's now part of the family of the DJI transmission system, and it's super exciting because you can now link multiple crew members, gaffers, art department, producers, and most importantly your client, to your camera. Previously, you could only use these high-bright monitors, but now, because of this receiver, you can link big production monitors to your set, and that is super exciting. I use the system with my Sony FX6, and it not only made my build a lot cleaner, but it also works a lot better on set for me. But we'll go over that in a minute, so stick around for it. It still comes with the 6 kilometer or 3.7 miles range, which is incredible. The same 70 millisecond latency, but it now transmits metadata over SDI and HDMI, which can be useful if you work with DIT or digital imaging technician on set. It only does that for Red and Arri now, but perhaps they will add Sony later on. It also supports fractional frame rates, so if you're shooting in 23.976 or 29.976 frames per second, if you're in the US, for example, this can be very useful because the older version did not support it. So let's see what you get with the kit.
So you get the transceiver and the receiver, which both weigh about 370 grams. They also come with a standard WB37 plate, but you also get an MPF style battery plate with it. You also get a 6-pin LEMO to DTAP cable for power, an SDI cable, a plate for your Ronin RS2 or 3 Pro, a charger which only charges one battery at a time, and of course a WB37 battery. The case holds up to 4 batteries, so that's good to remember. There's also some holes for some antennas, which you also get with the kit.
Okay, so let's take a look at the transmitter first.
As mentioned before, the transmitter and the receiver are identical in size and weight. There's a menu button on the side which you can use to toggle through the very easy laid out menu system. It's all pretty self-explanatory, so just go have a look in the menu and see what you can do there. Both units have an SDI in and out, an HDMI and a 6-pin LEMO, and a USB-C for firmware updates. I connect my Sony FX6 with the SDI cable into the transmitter and then with another SDI cable back to my monitor. If your camera only has an HDMI out, this works both ways, so you can connect it through the transmitter and back to another monitor with an SDI cable. So the receiver is made to use on a big production monitor, so I always power this with the LEMO to DTAP cable and run it straight into the monitor or straight into the V-Lock battery. The transmission kit has these pins on the front and the back, which allow you to use third-party tools in order to power it. So I use a system that is made by Tilta to put my transmitter right in between my V-Lock and my camera. In my opinion, this not only creates the most neat and tidy setup, but it's also super functional. I mean, judge for yourself. This or this. Right? Yeah, that's what I thought.
Next up, the high-bright monitor.
This 7-inch 1500 nit wide gamut display has the receiver built into it, which makes it extremely lightweight and versatile to use. Now there's a bunch of tutorials out there about the monitor, so I'm only going to talk about the control versus the broadcast mode. If you want to connect multiple receivers to your set, make sure you put it on broadcast mode, because on control you can only link 2 receivers, but on broadcast mode you can link unlimited receivers to your set.
Next up, the receiver. Now, it's in the back here on the monitor. I will leave it there because it's a complete copy of the transceiver, except for that it receives video instead of a transmitting video. Pretty obvious, not a lot to talk about here, so we'll just leave it as is. Okay, so let's do a quick range test. Now, DJI claims that it has a 6 kilometer or 3.7 mile range. This is insane, right? If you compare that to the Vexus, this is a Vexus ATEM SDI. This has 400 feet.
There's something else you must understand. In Europe, we have different regulations when it comes to the output power of the transmitter. So that means we can only get about 4 kilometers of maximum range, while in the US, you can get up to 6 kilometers. So in the field with trees and buildings, we in Europe can expect a lot less range than you could in US. In this simple test, I got about 1 kilometers of range, which is still insane to me because it's an HD image on my monitor while my camera is 1 kilometer away.
No, alright, lost connection. I think it's also because of the car.
Good guess, I guess. A car does interfere a lot because it has a lot of electronics and it's technically an aluminium box.
All right, let's take a quick look at the latency. Now, DJI claims that it has a constant latency of 70 milliseconds, which is quite good. It's not zero, but it's quite good. I can use this for pretty much everything that I do. And even if I work with focus pullers, they can rely on what they see on their monitor. Now, it's not zero latency, so meaning that if you work at the highest level, say feature film productions, and you do focus pull a lot, then you might want to invest in a bigger or more expensive setup that has that zero latency feature. But for, I'd say, 90% of the things that people do, this system works just great. So let's talk a little bit about the battery consumption and how you can power the transceiver, the receiver, and the hybrid monitor.
On a fully charged WB37 battery at room temperature, I could run the transceiver and receiver for about 3.5 hours. The screen would last me only for 2 hours. The whole kit comes with these NPS-style battery plates, which you can use instead because there's a lot more variation on the market.
If you work with this monitor the entire day, you definitely need to bring multiple of these batteries, but I do suggest that when you don't shoot, for example, you go for lunch or there's a break somewhere, you just press the power button once and it will flip off. And as long as it will flip off like that, it will still be connected to your transmitter, but the screen's off. So that definitely saves on battery power. But if you press it once again, it will flip back on and you can start shooting straight away. If you want to power off the entire thing, just hold and press this button, but it will take at least 30 to 40 seconds to power up and reconnect with your transmitter. DJI also told me that you can now, with a firmware update, connect with your Ronin 4D as long as you have the transmitter package. So that little transmitter thing that sits in between your battery plate and the Ronin 4D. It comes at a cost, it's about 350 euros for that expansion. But if you work with the 4D a lot, it definitely is worth it because it sits in between the battery plate and it's super neat and tidy and you don't need any cables. All right, there's a couple concerns I have with this setup. The first one being the fan noise. It's very important to me that these systems operate as quietly as possible. Now, luckily, there's multiple fan noise modes built into these systems, but out of the box, this thing is super loud. So let me turn on the normal mode. You just press these three little dots, general settings, fan mode, and then normal. That's quite loud. Compare that to the low noise mode. That's a significant difference. Same goes for the transceiver and the receiver. They also have a low noise and normal mode built in. I personally only operate on the low noise function. The high noise or like the normal mode is not usable for me. The next concern I have is the latency. Personally, I don't really mind about the 70 milliseconds, but if you work with a focus puller that requires the best solution, then a zero latency system like a Teradek or like a Dwarf Connections or something like that would be the best solution. But for me, and I feel like for like 90% of the people out there, this system is way more than you need. It is a little bit late, like 2 or 3 frames. You know, you saw it in the test, but to me, that's good enough. So you have to decide whether or not this is a deal breaker for you. The third one is the price. So the previous system, which is the transceiver and the hybrid monitor, comes in at around 2,300 euros. They sell a separate transceiver for about 1,000 euros. So I believe the receiver will be also kind of like 1,000 euros. If it's not the case, I will leave it down in the description below because I don't know the price as of yet. But I think the whole system with the hybrid monitor included will be around 3,300 euros. And if you only want the receiver and the transceiver, vice versa, you will probably pay around 2,000 euros. As I said, I'm not sure. I will leave the prices in the description below if I know them. So please check that out. Now, here's my conclusion. Would I suggest to buy this product? My answer is yes and no, of course. The yes is if you have a lot of shoots, say 5 or 6 plus per month that pay really well, you know, where you can take your entire camera kit, your monitor, and let them pay for it, then definitely. I would absolutely highly recommend this setup because it's neat, it works perfectly, you can rely on it, and that's very important. So yes, then definitely. Then the no is for the ones that do have less shoots per month or lower paying shoots per month. If you're, for example, starting out, or if you're just trying to get that budget out of these productions, then you might not want to invest in this one because it's quite expensive. maybe then like a Vaxis system or like a HoloLens system is better for you, because these come in at like 500 or 600 euros. The big difference is that these ones are definitely not as reliable as the DJI ones. So this is only a good solution if you are on a tighter budget. This system is now definitely a game changer for me, at least, because I am never going back to this Vaxis or HoloLens system. I'm very sorry, HoloLens and Vaxis, but got to be honest. This is so reliable and so incredibly well built, and it tucks away in my Sony FX6 rig so perfectly, I would say, that I'm never going back. Simple. So that's my conclusion. Hopefully I answered your questions. And if not, please let them know in the comments below. I'll always reply to everyone, so know that. And with that being said, I want to thank you a lot for watching this video, and we'll see each other in the next one. A lot of exciting stuff coming up. So hopefully you'll stick around. Anyway, have a good day, and I'll see you guys later.